Hello, and good morning. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Welcome to Tuesday training. It is a beautiful day, 9 o'clock here in Austin, Texas. Been warm. We got it up to like 84 the other day, but supposedly we can cool off a little bit more before we have our summer of oppression that we always have here in Texas. So thank you guys for tuning in. Pardon me. Super excited about the show today. We're going to talk about a common question that comes up in these Facebook groups a lot. Came up yesterday. I was hanging out in the 7-figure Medicare agent group, Christian Brindle's group. Great group, by the way, out there. And a new agent was in there and asked a common question that we see all the time. And that is, hey, guys, I'm a brand new independent agent in the Medicare space. What are some great ways for me to generate leads and invest in marketing? We see that all the time. I've seen it in life insurance groups, Medicare groups, and sometimes we even see it in our group, which is kind of a mixture. And truthfully, whether you are in the Medicare space, the life insurance space, the annuity space, the PNC space, it doesn't matter. Marketing and lead generation generally follows some fundamental rules and what you can do to get started. And we're going to talk about some of that stuff today. But first and foremost, as always, a couple of quick things. We're going to jump into some news. This show, as always, is sponsored by MetaZeus, and we appreciate MetaZeus. We use MetaZeus right here in our agency. If you're not familiar with it, it is an awesome tool that allows you to monitor your Medicare Advantage and drug plan business in basically real time, right? This is super important during open enrollment period, especially important during annual election period, and also important in a lot of these states where they're basically running year-round special election periods where people can come in and flip your business. But this will tell you when your business is getting flipped within 24 hours, 48 hours of it being flipped. You only need two pieces of data. You need their Medicare number and their date of birth. If you've got that, you can look up the current plan they're on. You can verify if they've made any enrollment changes and what that new plan is going to be and the effective date. You can also find or verify their LIS status. So phenomenal tool. I compare it against my book all the time, especially this last year during the AEP. That was the first time I actually picked up MetaZeus and started using it. And we saved and flipped back 7 apps during that time, right? Saved 7 apps. That's $2,100 at agent level renewal commission per year. We more than paid for MetaZeus. Phenomenal tool. You're seeing it really circulate through a lot of the Medicare groups out there right now. It's getting really popular, gaining a lot of support. So if you are an agent out there selling Medicare Advantage or drug plan business and you have a good sized book of business, if you're brand new, I wouldn't sweat MetaZeus right now. But if you're out there and you've got a couple hundred apps on the books, get MetaZeus, man. It's going to pay for itself immediately. I think it's $89 a month. We'll get the link in the description on this video as well, or in the comments and whatnot, so you guys can check it out. But if you're interested in checking it out, give our buddy Evan McGuffey a call. He's a member here in the group, and he can get you a free demo. I think he'll even give you a free trial to check it out. And if you like it, you'll sign up, and I can pretty much guarantee you will like it. So with that said, we do have some news stuff to jump into today. Boom. That's not the one I want to lead off with. I apologize. We want to lead off with this one. I always love to talk about fraud in this business, especially in the Medicare space, because it is rampant. And right here from Fierce Healthcare, they're talking about it. And they're saying that, hey, Medicare Advantage fraud is in the Department of Justice's crosshairs after the agency reported $2.7 billion with a B in settlements. Not going to go through the whole article for you, but it basically states that, hey, under the False Claims Act, more than $1.8 billion in settlements and judgments was related to health-related matters in the last fiscal year, about 2/3 of the monetary fraud recoveries by the DOJ. So of all the money that the DOJ recovered from fraud, 2/3 of it was in the health insurance industry. Scams took place across the industry, affecting managed care providers, hospitals, pharmacies, long-term care facilities. The agency said that in February 22nd, just a few days ago, $1.8 billion refers to recoveries arising only from federal losses, but it's even recovered more from state Medicaid programs as well. Couple notables. Big one right there. If you cruise down in this article, it says that, hey, the Cigna Group and Martins Point Healthcare were the first settlements noted by the DOJ. Cigna reached an agreement back in October to pay $172 million. This is not the first time Cigna's been in trouble. But they paid $1.72 million to settle whistleblower allegations that it had submitted false Medicare Advantage diagnostic codes to boost their reimbursements. Before agreeing to obviously sell their business, they're now selling it to Healthcare Services Corp, which is the company behind Blue Cross. And latter agreed to pay $22 million in those False Claims Act violations. But it also goes on to say, hey, settlements are not surprising, right? There are more coming. If you cruise on down, the DOJ said it will continue litigating other cases. These are ongoing cases right now. United Health Group, Independent Health Corporation, Elevance, which is Anthem, and then Kaiser Permanente. So they all have pending cases of fraud, probably very similar to what Cigna's accused of, I would bet, in regards to overbilling using diagnostic codes to boost their reimbursement. So pretty interesting there. You know, fraud is unfortunately a big problem in this industry. I've talked about it a lot. And if you cruise down, the final thing that it says, it gave examples of pursuing fraud involving unnecessary billing practices, unlawful kickbacks, and the California Medicaid program, skin graft reimbursement, cybersecurity, and the COVID-19 pandemic. I've talked quite a few times about fraud that is existing from a lot of the providers, right? Fraudulent doctors that are out there pushing fake COVID test kits, right? That they're billing Medicare for. There was something else recently. I think it was maybe a glucose monitoring system or something that we had talked about. There's been quite a few different ones that are out there scam-wise, not just from the carriers overbilling, but from providers doing fake stuff too. So if they can clean that stuff up, man, that is more money, assuming that they spend it right. That's a whole nother topic. Don't even get me started, but assuming that they spend it right, that is money that can definitely be used right back in Medicare. So moving along, you know, this article jumps right into it as well. Hey, why some Medicare Advantage plans are going to get skimpier and costlier. And I've been kind of alluding to this for probably the last few episodes of Tuesday Training. But this goes through some pretty good comments in regards to why they think Medicare Advantage plans are going to start peeling back some of the additional benefits that they've been throwing out there, might have some footprint peel back, and certainly might even see some premiums go up on these things. But it says right here, this gentleman, I think the landscape is going to change. Medicare Advantage will have less perks and be less attractive to people. This is from Marvin Music. He's the co-founder and chief educator over at MedicareSchool.com, and he's also a Medicare broker. If you don't know Marvin, he's pretty big out there. He doesn't get around too much in the groups, but the dude does write some business. And of course, that would be a big reversal, right? The Medicare Advantage program since 2014 has been getting subsidy increases every year. Every year they get a subsidy increase from CMS. What do we see? We see bigger footprint. We see more benefits, right? We see more commissions for us, etc. So currently, and I mentioned this, I believe, last week or possibly the week before, Medicare or CMS has a proposal to reduce Medicare Advantage subsidy by 0.16%. It's not a very big number. Now, we are talking billions of dollars, which amplifies that 0.16%, but it's still relatively small. However, they think that that could cause some problems, right? And right here it points out, hey, the vice tightens on Medicare Advantage insurers. Humana, right? I talked about this recently. They are reporting losses. CVS Health reporting lower profits, right? They're reporting basically losses. I've talked about this just recently with some of these carriers. And now even down here, you have Cigna, who is selling and getting out of the business. So we've got a lot of carriers losing money, right? They're reporting lower fourth quarter earnings, right? And why is that? Well, what is causing those problems? Well, the difficulties that we're seeing, as it says here right at the top, are related to a convergence of pressures from the federal government, right? CMS is basically changing the rules a little bit. Number one, they're proposing a 0.16% reduction in the subsidy to MA plans. Okay, so that reduction in money is certainly going to thin their profits more, cause them to make some changes, right? Another stress is higher than expected utilization rates, right? During COVID, a lot of these carriers saw a huge drop in utilization rates, especially for elective surgeries, people that needed a knee surgery. They're like, nah, I'm not going to the hospital during COVID to get knee surgery, right? I might get sick. I'll deal with this knee. We'll postpone it until whatever happens, right? So during 2020, 2021, we saw some really low utilization rates, particularly in elective surgeries. Now, all of those people that had been delaying their surgeries are now getting them done. Plus, the people that already are like, oh, yeah, I guess I need some surgery, and it's time to get it done. They're not delaying it. They're getting it done now. So you have a very high utilization rate. So people are using their plan much more expected. That means that there's claims that are being paid by an insurance company more than they originally expected. All of that is, again, reducing their dollar figure when it comes to profits. And it says it all started right here, the second quarter of last year, 2023. There have been a lot of the deferred care during the pandemic. I just mentioned that. People were hesitant to go in. Now all of that is getting done. There's also a big crackdown on prior authorization, right? They're trying to streamline prior authorization to prevent Medicare Advantage carriers from overusing, I should say, their prior authorization rights, right, by denying care. It's not as rampant a problem as a lot of times the media makes it out to be. But yes, there are people that are not getting the care that they should be getting because of prior authorization. You have some carriers that are using AI, artificial intelligent algorithms, to deny care through a prior authorization method. United Healthcare has been dealing with the lawsuit from that, for example. So a lot of those different things are going on. They're working on streamlining that to get it more in line with Medicare. If Medicare would approve that care, then the MA plan should too, right? So they're trying to streamline that. And if they do streamline that, then that means they're spending more money because they're approving more care. They're not denying as much, again, eating into the profits. She points out here, this lady, Gretchen Jacobson, Vice President of Medicare at the Commonwealth Fund, she points out that, hey, there's no shortage of Medicare Advantage plans by any means, right? Everybody's got one to pick from. But the Affordable Care Act limits the profit margins on these Medicare Advantage insurers. We know that they have to keep an MLR, that's medical loss ratio, of right at 0.85% or higher. They can't have a lower. They can't make more money. So for every $100 they earn, at least $85 has to be used to pay claims, right? Can't just be profit stuff. So because of all those things, again, they're getting pinched. So how is this going to affect your Medicare Advantage members? Well, because Medicare Advantage might not be quite as strong as it has been in the past, they might find their zero premium plans aren't so zero premium anymore, and they may start seeing premiums. They will probably see co-payments and deductibles rising, and we're expecting this in 2025. That's next year, right? We are just a handful of months away from enrolling people in 2025 plans. We are likely, and I would bet on it too, we're likely going to see fewer zero premium plans, and we're likely going to see higher co-payments, higher deductibles. 12% of people, it says here, are in plans that couldn't afford care because of the co-payments and deductibles already. So now if we're going to see those go up, that might be some issues. But again, those changes won't occur this year. They're going to go next year. So looking beyond, it says that you can, again, expect Medicare Advantage benefit reductions, price increases for both for 2025 and 2026. And I think there'll be a fair amount of confusion. With confusion breeds opportunity. So as much as this is quote unquote bad news, this is going to create a hell of an AEP this year. And so if you're an agent out there, like, understand that the plans are going to get a huge shakeup this year, which creates a huge opportunity for you to go out there and scoop up some business, whether it be in the Medicare Advantage side or in the Medicare Supplement side. So if I'm you as an agent, I am paying extremely close attention to some of this news and certainly how the plans are going to be affected come this AEP so that I can be ahead of the curve versus some of the agents that might get caught with their pants down, so to speak, so that you can go out there and scoop up a lot of business and get these people in the right space, right? Pretty simple stuff. Moving on, I got a couple more news items I want to show you guys. This one you guys will love. I promise you. This is from the American Prospect. This is certainly kind of an opinion piece a little bit, but it says that the company behind the Joe Namath Medicare Advantage ads has a long rap sheet of misconduct. Imagine that. Right? But it jumps off. I mean, it comes right out at it. And it says, hey, you know, the former New York Jets superstar Joe Namath can be seen every year in these ads. We know that, right? No big deal. But here it says the company Behind those ads, now called Blue Lantern Health, and their products, healthinsurance.com, the Medicare Coverage Helpline, they have an extensive rap sheet of misconduct. Really? Well, it says it includes prosecutions by the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Trade Commission, and a recent bankruptcy filing that critics say is designed to jettison their substantial legal liabilities they've already incurred. In September 2023, the company became Blue Lantern. Before that, it was called Benefit, spelled Benefytt. And before that, Health Insurance Innovations. Find it odd that a reputable company would have to change their corporate name so many times. 43 state attorneys, it goes on, or 43 state attorney generals had set 43. Read this again. 43 state attorneys general had settled with the company back in 2018, with it paying $3.4 million fine. A close associate of the company, Steve Dorfman, has also been prosecuted by the FTC in addition to the DOJ. You don't say. They go on to smite Mr. Joe Namath here a little bit. I'm not going to jump into all that, but I thought it was pretty interesting to see these little things pointed out regarding this company. Here it actually goes on a little bit more. In March 2020, Health Insurance Innovations changed its name to Benefit, and in August 2020 was acquired by Madison Dearborn Partners. Madison Dearborn has close ties to the Illinois Democratic elite, pumping over $916,000 into U.S. ambassador, blah, blah, blah. So class action lawsuit, $27.5 million. That was in 2021. Lots of stuff. So pretty interesting. I'm going to put this one in the group for sure. But yeah, nothing shocking really, in my opinion, right? That the company behind the Joe Namath ads that are out there has a rap sheet of misconduct. So let's move on a little bit. And the next three pieces that I'm going to get to, I have additional points other than the fact that we're talking about some new stuff here. But this is from the American Hospital Association. It comments on the Medicare outpatient observation status appeals rule. Nothing really huge here, but a couple of things I wanted to point out. Basically, the American Hospital Association submitted comments on the CMS's proposed rule establishing an appeals right for Medicare beneficiaries that are admitted for an inpatient hospital stay, subsequently reclassified to outpatient with observation status. So this happens sometimes that you're in the hospital, right? You're in inpatient status for a day or two, or shorter, longer, and then they keep you an extra day, but they don't classify you as inpatient because you're just in observation. They just kind of got you a room. They're peeping at you through the window, maybe come check your blood pressure every once in a while, but they don't really consider you inpatient. That's an issue for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you're not an inpatient, it's not getting billed under Part A, as I remember. But more importantly, if you don't have at least 3 days as inpatient status and you get moved to skilled nursing, you're not covered in skilled nursing, right? Those 20 free days that Medicare gives you in skilled nursing are contingent on 3 days in the hospital as inpatient status. So if you're in there 2 days and you get bumped to observation on the third day, you're not going to have skilled nursing coverage if you need to go in there. And you say, well, really, would you need skilled nursing if you're only in the hospital 3 days? Yeah, you very well could, because a knee surgery, for example, and I know this from personal testimony because it's exactly what happened to my mom 4 times that she had knee surgeries. She goes in the hospital 1 day for prep. Second day is the knee surgery. Third day is technically observation status, but you need them billed as an inpatient. After that third day, they get moved to skilled nursing immediately to start rehabbing on that knee surgery. So if it's billed incorrectly, or if they're pushed as an observation status and they don't get their 3 full days as inpatient, the skilled nursing coverage is not covered. They're going to pay 100%. The other detail that's important on this is when it comes to your hospital indemnity plans. If you're selling hospital indemnity plans, there are some hospital indemnity plans that don't cover the observation status as well. Meaning that, let's say, for example, you had a hospital indemnity plan that gave them $300 a day back for 5 days in the hospital, right? So if they spent 5 days as an inpatient, they would get $1,500 back, right? 5 days times $300 a day. But if one of those days is listed as observation, even though they're still having to pay a claim and they're still having to pay for their time in the hospital. They're not getting off the hook. The hospital indemnity plan won't pay a reimbursement for that day because it's not a true inpatient, right? But there are some hospital indemnity plans that do cover observation status. And if I'm you and I'm an agent out there selling Medicare Advantage plans and I want to sell hospital indemnity with it, which you damn sure should be, make sure you're selling a product that offers observation status. I'm not here to shill products. I'm going to put that on you to go out there and make sure that the hospital indemnity products you are selling do cover observation status. That way you're doing the best thing for your client. So moving on, I got two more solid ones for you, and then we're going to jump into the task for the day. From NPR, this is a consumer-facing piece, but I'm pointing this out for a couple of reasons. One, the importance of Medicare, which is my game, but I got another message for you that I'll get to you here in a second. But this is a consumer-facing piece that says, hey, her air ambulance ride wasn't covered by Medicare, and it cost her family $81,739. That's a pretty large bill. So if we go on to read through this article, what we're going to learn is that Deborah Pritchard, a retired factory worker, was careful with her money, right? And she was also the kind of person at the time, didn't really go to the doctor for anything. She was pretty healthy. So what did she do? She delayed Part B. She did not enroll in Part B of Medicare. She's just running around with Medicare Part A. Then she has a stroke and several aneurysms. She was twice emergency rushed to the hospital in Nashville. And one of those times, I believe, and it obviously says she was treated by brain specialists. Supers. I mean, this was a big deal. This wasn't like, let's go to the hospital. This was big problems. One of those trips was via helicopter. And she said, I'd heard, says here's like, I'd heard those trips were pricey, but didn't really realize how pricey they were. And didn't really understand that her mother had skimped on Part B of Medicare to save the Part B premium. Well, then she gets her hospital bill, or not her hospital bill, I'm sorry, the air ambulance bill. And you should see it right there. Boom, bang, pow, $81,739.40. That is how much she owes. $81,739.40, just because she decided to skimp on Part B, right? And it goes on to say, hey, look, here's the skinny. The patient, Deborah Pritchard, Medicare Part A. Medical service, that's a Part B bill, an air ambulance flight. Service provider explains, total bill, $81,000. What gives? Well, we know that air ambulances are super expensive, right? It goes on to say, hey, for Patients and Privacy Insurance Conference, the 2020 No Surprises Act bars air ambulance companies from billing people more than they would pay if the service were considered in-network. So for patients with public coverage, such as Medicare or Medicaid, the government sets payment rates at much lower levels. But Pritchard opted out of the Part B portion, right? So she didn't even have coverage that covered air ambulances. So she's going to have to pay the whole skinny, almost $82,000. The main assets that she had was 12 acres of land in her home where she had lived. All of that can pretty much get chewed up by that. So I'm pointing this out for really the reason that we're kind of getting into our main topic today, because we're going to talk about marketing and lead generations. So this is an awesome segue, because if I'm an agent selling in the Medicare space, and I understand, number one, that Medicare is a great product, great service, and there's a lot of great options for it, but it is an educational type sale, right? In a lot of ways. And I also understand that attention is currency. I've talked about this a lot on the show. Attention is currency. So if I'm an agent out there selling in the Medicare space and I'm looking for help generating marketing and leads, and I know that attention is currency, why am I not pulling up articles like this and talking about them maybe on my YouTube channel, my Instagram page, my Facebook page, whatever? Like, these are factual, true stories that are happening out there. I see them in the news all the time that you can pull and you can use to generate great content. I could actually take this piece and I can target it to people and the importance of a Medigap policy if I wanted to, and I can talk about that, because had she had a Medigap policy with Part B, she would have paid next to nothing for that ambulance ride. She might have paid $240 or Part B deductible. That's it. But now she's on the hook for $81,000. probably going to have to cash in a big portion of their estate. Like, this is a great way to impress upon your audience the importance of getting Medicare right. So again, I can use it from the point of talking about Medigap policies. I can target T65s with this piece of news and doing content about it, and the importance of making sure you enroll in Part B so that you're not on the hook when stuff happens. Because yes, this is a great example of someone who, like it says here from her daughter, she was the kind of person who didn't go to the doctor for anything. But your current health status doesn't dictate your future health status. It's common sense that as this body ages, it's going to break down, right? So she was the kind of person that didn't go to the doctor for anything, but that ended last year when she suffered a devastating stroke and several aneurysms. It can change in a heartbeat, and it's your job to make sure that you impress that upon your audience, which are Medicare beneficiaries. So again, I'm stressing this. If I'm an agent out there and I have any kind of social media presence, or I understand the importance of having a social media presence, so we're going to talk a lot about this here in a minute when we get deeper into the topic. And we even have, we might have a surprise guest come on later. We'll see. I probably shouldn't have let that out of the bag, because who knows, that person might not be able to make it. But we're going to talk about that. But if I'm an agent and I have any kind of social media presence, or I understand the need for it, articles like this are awesome. And that's easy content for you to drum up. You don't have to create something. This isn't original thought, right? You're not having to be creative or artistic in this. All you're needing to do is go, whoa, here's a great article, factual article about a real story that happened to a real Medicare beneficiary that I can utilize to express the need for it and why you need my services, so I can help you avoid things like this. But wait, there's more. Here's another one. Same concept, right? This is another phenomenal article that's going to push my point home for you of why, again, this is a great way to develop content for you. This is a very similar thing. I can use the same messaging. I can go after people that I'm trying to sell Medigap policies to, or I'm explaining to T65s the importance of having Part B, and even Medicare Advantage people, like, is that 20% coinsurance that's uncapped if you just have original Medicare. If I can't afford a Medigap policy to wipe it out, or almost all of it, I can at least use a Medicare Advantage plan to reduce that 20% coinsurance into manageable piecemeal costs as I use my plan, right? Copayment here, a little piece of coinsurance there, and then maybe tighten it up with a little hospital indemnity plan. But here's what we're talking about here, right? Article hits it right off. This is from Yahoo Finance. Says, struggling to survive. Pennsylvania retiree slapped with a lifetime penalty for delaying Medicare sign-up when she was too poor to afford insurance. How you can avoid this costly mistake. We probably all know where this is going if you're in the Medicare space at all. But basically what we learn if we read this is that when she turned 65, she signed up for Social Security benefits, but delayed her enrollment into Medicare at the time because she didn't have enough money to cover cash to cover the premiums, right? She had just returned to the U.S. from a 4-year stint in Germany, and she and her husband were both living off of their savings and her monthly Social Security benefit of $1,200 while they worked on their fixer-upper house. They weren't poor, but they were cash-strapped to the point where they were struggling and survived. So when Leonard signed up for Medicare 4 years later, it was specifically Medicare B, because she's getting Medicare A for free. So we know that the point that they're really making here is Medicare Part B. So when she signs up for Medicare 4 years later, she was shocked to learn that her premiums will forever be bumped by 40% because of her late enrollment. So now, not only is she paying for Part B at $174.70, but she's paying 40% higher. What's 4 times 17.5? $68. So now she's paying $240, $42, I think is that math. And Part B is probably going to go up again next year. Let's be honest, most likely, the way the trajectory is moving. So she's going to continue paying a 40% surcharge for as long as she has Medicare, which is probably going to be the rest of her life, right? So I'm not going to go through the rest of this article because we should know, right, the rest of it, but it kind of explains the gap. It explains the need for Medicare Part A and B at age 65 and so forth. Another great article that if I'm an agent, This is a great way that you can develop content that you don't necessarily have to have original thought of. You just need to understand how to solve the problem that's being presented in this article for a Medicare beneficiary. And if you know how to do that and you can position yourself as an expert countering the details in this article, then you can generate some great content and get people to know, like, and trust you. So that's that. So with that said, I want to jump into a little bit about marketing. Luce, I appreciate your comment. Where did I find the article? I get most of my articles through Google keyword researches. Google keyword searches. I have some saved searches that Google pulls up for me. And then I have a few places like Fierce Healthcare, Modern Healthcare, Kaiser Family Foundation that I talk about all the time. I generally pull most of my articles from there. I will put some of those in the group so you guys can check them out. But generally, I mean, if you just go to Google and Google News, for example, and you type in the word Medicare, it'll pull it up as a keyword search and you can find all of the relevant news. It's usually sorted by date, meaning the most recent articles are at the top, not always, right? And if you really want to dig down, you can search Medicare Advantage news, Medigap news, search specific carrier names, things like that. So I have a handful of keywords that I use that help push articles up for me so I can find them quick. And then I go through them and obviously share them in the group. So thank you guys. But with that said, I want to talk a little bit about marketing, right? And I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. I was hanging out in one of the groups and I saw a new agent. And we see this all the time. Just about any insurance agent group that you might exist in, whether it's life insurance, annuity, Medicare, PNC, et cetera, or our variety group. It's not uncommon. Like, hey, I'm a new agent. How do I generate leads? How do I market myself? Right. And I'm going to be the first person to tell you, or actually, I want to go ahead and let me grab this real fast first and share this little thing for you, because I'm going to have to draw one little thing. So I want to make sure that we can see this. Boom. So I'm a new agent. How do I market myself? How do I generate leads? Well, when it comes to marketing and lead generation, I am a firm believer that there are two levers that are involved in lead generation and marketing. There are two primary control levers. One of those is money. You can throw money at the lead and marketing problem, which means you can buy leads, right? I can call up a lead company, third-party lead generator, like maybe Lead Heroes, Lead Concepts, Leading Response, Leadrilla. There's any numerous one out there. Chase McAllister's group, CYFL, which reminds me, call your leads. I can call any of those groups and I can buy leads, right? And the quality of those leads is certainly going to depend on maybe how good that group is, how good they are at developing, or maybe what type of lead I'm buying, right? I might buy a low-cost lead that's maybe just a piece of data, right? Name, phone number, date of birth, address. And maybe that's all I'm getting. And maybe I'm getting data like that for 15, 20 cents a record. And I'm buying giant sheets of it that I'm using as a cold call list or a mailing list of my own. I could buy preset appointments, right? Like I have some agents that are working with me that are buying preset appointments from Lead Heroes, Glenn Shelton's group. They're outstanding. They ain't cheap. I mean, they're $60 a pop. And after what we know about what the FCC made in rules recently regarding third-party leads, we're probably going to see lead costs like that go up. But they're excellent leads. These are preset appointments where someone's expecting you to call them at a specific time and talk about Medicare. So I can buy those, right? I can throw money at the lead problem. That's the first primary control lever. The other control lever is time, or better put, elbow grease, your own personal, physical, and mental effort, right? Those are the two primary control levers that you have when it comes to marketing and lead generation. I can turn one of them up and it allows me to turn the other one down a little bit. I can turn that one up and turn the other one down. And ultimately, a master marketer is going to start learning to balance those two knobs so that he's spending the right amount of money to maximize his output, but he's also putting in the right amount of effort to maximize his output, and he fine tunes it for what he wants for his business. But those are the two things, which means that if you're a brand new agent and you have $0, then you're left to one. You don't have there is no money knob. You're left to one control lever, and that is your physical and mental effort, right? Or what would be called grassroots, right? So that's working from zero. And if you look up the definition of grassroots, actually, it'll tell you right here. What does grassroots mean? This is from Merriam-Webster's dictionary. It says it's basic or fundamental, right? It is the basic or fundamental, is being, originating, or operating in or at the grassroots level. That's kind of a shitty definition, in my opinion, but it is what it is. But it's not adapted from or added to an existing facility or operation. So think about that. If I'm buying leads from a third party, they already have an existing operation that's generating leads, right? So that wouldn't be grassroots. I'm buying leads. Grassroots is going to be the very foundation or source, as it says here, right? So I'm going to where the client is physically or telephonically. I'm going to the client and talking to them directly without any third-party lead type effort involved. This is just me getting to the source, right? Grassroots is what that explains. So if you're an agent that doesn't have any money, then you're left to doing nothing but grassroots efforts, because you can't buy leads, you have no money. You can't invest in a marketing campaign, you have no money. So I'm of the opinion, and I know there's a bunch of other agents out there too, and we're not trying to discourage you from being an agent when I say what I'm about to say. But if you have no money to invest in your business and in marketing or lead generation aspect, you probably shouldn't start as an independent broker agent. If you have no money to invest in marketing or lead generation, you probably shouldn't start as an independent agent or broker in the insurance business. And I will say that is most likely true across every single line of business, whether it's Medicare, life insurance, annuities, P&C, etc. If you're out there in the P&C space watching this and you believe that's also true, back me up in the comments, right? Why do I say that? Because if you have no money and you're starting a small business, I almost feel like I don't have to say the rest, but I'm going to. You're running an uphill battle, like a severe uphill battle, because the only thing that you have is your physical and mental effort to rely on. I'm not trying to put you down and say that you can't do it, because I've seen people do it. It's just really, really hard. It takes a very special kind of human being to walk into the insurance business with $0 and start knocking on doors. Because let's think about what grassroots marketing is. Knocking on doors. Whether it's neighborhoods or business to business, right? You're cold knocking. Or you're cold calling. And if I'm doing one of those two, I'm probably doing cold calling, but I've been doing telesales now for 15, 16 years. So it's a little more second nature to me. I'm kind of ingrained in it. I don't know that I would go back out in the field and knock on doors. I've done it. I have a friend in Tupelo, Mississippi, Letitia Jackson, built her entire business. She's a monster earner out there in the Medicare and life space and ACA space, as I remember. Monster earner. Built the whole thing door to door, right? I don't know at what point she started kicking in marketing funds to help her door to door, but she did it. Now, so I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's really, 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 really hard to build an insurance business that is going to be lucrative from nothing but your own physical and mental effort, from zero, right? It's like trying to start a fire with no flint and no, what do they call it? I can't even think of what it's called now. None of the little wicking to start the fire with. You were probably just doing nothing but grinding your hands together, trying to create enough friction to try to start a fire. That's what that is like. Okay. And the reason I have this graph up is to kind of just help, because I didn't know how to put what I'm about to say in words. When it comes to marketing, there are two primary lanes again, and I'm not talking about money and effort, right? Those are the two control levers we have to generate leads in marketing. Okay. We have long-term marketing, which is grassroots. Grassroots isn't like, I'm not going to go out and do grassroots effort and make a whole bunch of money day one. Yeah, I might go out and run an event right? That I paid very little for, that I got into with a negotiated deal, and I might get lucky and find someone that needs an app. But more than likely, grassroots type efforts are going to be something that builds with time. The more I get out in the community and do events, the more I keep banging on doors, the more I keep out there talking to people, getting in front of people, building relationships with people, going business to business to providers and talking to them and introducing myself as their go-to person in the neighborhood for Medicare. The more I keep doing that, the more that snowball builds and grows and grows and grows. Okay. So if this red line I'm about to draw is grassroots marketing, it's starting at zero. And it's going to take time before it starts building. It's going to run on kind of an exponential looking curve. Okay. So I'm starting with $0, and it's going to take me a lot of time and effort to get that thing up to where it's generating revenue for me, to where people know me now because I've been out in the community for so long, talking to people. I have all these referral relationships built up, right? People know who I am. They see me out there now. And hopefully along the way, you've developed some money to grow your grassroots efforts. And what I'm talking about is, instead of just me knocking on the provider's door with nothing but my pen and paper and my business card, maybe I'm now knocking on that provider's door and I have a gift bag for him and his staff, whether it's cookies or brownies or fruit basket, like those types of things, to start greasing the wheel for you, right? So my effort is still at a high level because I'm still out there banging on doors, but now I'm able to start adding a little bit of money to it to get some grease on that wheel. Those are some of the things you can add into your grassroots efforts to help you, right? Now I can afford to sponsor a bingo game at the local senior center, community center, or whatever, right? I'm still doing grassroots work. It's still extremely low cost. It's still me just out there talking to the community in a grassroots manner. But now I have a little bit of cheddar that I can come in and I can buy everybody a Jimmy John's party box for lunches while I'm coming out, hanging out with them and throwing out a little prize for the bingo game. It's an example, right? We do that all the time. Love it. Phenomenal stuff to do like that. The other item is, I'm going to do it with the blue line, I guess, right? This is buying leads. Okay. If I buy leads, if I have money to buy leads, I'm going to get instant return on my investment. So when I'm a new agent, this is money. This is return on my investment. This is time spent in the business. When I'm a brand new agent, I'm at zero. Technically, I have all the time in the world, probably, but I have no return on investment because I have nothing going on. My own efforts, what's going to decide it, and that ROI is going to grow over time I spent, right? Whereas if I buy leads today, I can get instant return on my investment. I can make money now, right? I'm not going to make money now starting out in a grassroots level. And that's one of the reasons I explained that it's so difficult to start if you have $0. I would advise any agent that if you are going full independent, where you're responsible for your marketing plan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you probably need about $5,000 to $10,000 to start your business. I started Avila with $12,500, $5,000 cash, and I got a $7,500 credit card for the corporate bank account. 12.5. That's what we had. Our expenses are going to be probably a little over $100,000 this year, but we're going to be pushing gross revenue. We're on pace. We could do 500 in gross revenue this year. This is our fourth. This will be our fourth full year in business, right? This AEP will be our fifth AEP as Avila. So we started it with 12.5. So again, if you're a brand new agent out there and you're looking at, hey, I want to start my own business, like, just because it's insurance doesn't mean that it doesn't follow the same fundamentals that another business might, right? If you're going to go out and you're going to start a coffee shop, you're not going to start it for free. You have to be able to, you got to be able to at least buy product. You have to be able to buy coffee and the things that make coffee so that you can sell it to people. So, I mean, I guess the cheapest way you could get a coffee cart, right? But you're having to spend money to get that business stood up because there are no real tangible products in insurance, and it's all just paper. And now paper's moved to digital, so we don't even have that. A lot of people think that they can just get into insurance and not have to invest money and they can grow a business and make millions of dollars. That simply ain't true, man. It simply ain't true. So I'm going to say it again. If you are an independent agent or you're going to be an independent agent, I would highly recommend that you have some money to invest in yourself, because you are either, I don't know why this screen won't give me a perfect view now if I stop touching it, because you're either A, going to have to start at zero and invest a ton of your time to grow a grassroots effort and to grow a presence. And this is even true in social media, right? To build my brand so that people are now calling me, or I can buy leads. Now, at some point, truthfully, you want to do both. Like if you're a really good agent, and you really have some vision and you want to build something, ultimately, you should be doing both. When I started Avila, we were starting with some grassroots types efforts, things that cost us no money, just cost us elbow grease, and that's it. But we were also spending money to generate leads immediately, because we needed immediate revenue to run the business, right? Now, eventually, these two lines should intersect. And now maybe when you get to this point, you can peel back your expenses in lead generation and marketing, or tweak them and change them to support your grassroots efforts. But now you've hit this ROI intersection. So I hope you guys kind of understand what I'm talking about here. You really need two levels of marketing. You need a grassroots type zero cost marketing effort that takes a long time to build to get the ROI you want. And you need instant money today to run your business, pay your bills, live, do things like eat, pay cable, right? You have to have money now. So ultimately, again, this is why I say if you don't have 5 to 10 grand to start your business, you're going to be challenged. Not saying it's impossible, but you're going to be challenged. So with that said, I want to just kind of talk extemporaneously about some of the different marketing methods you can do, right? And I was hoping we might have a guest pop in, but it doesn't look like they could make it. But I will tell you that if you're real quick, just to plug a friend of mine, if you're an agent out there, you're doing any grassroots work, you're wanting to do grassroots work, and you're needing help or ideas, a good friend of mine, Rebecca Davis, who runs Cannonball Insurance up in Stephenville, Texas, absolutely slaughters the grassroots market in her business. She's built an enormous 8-figure brand. It's nuts, and pretty much done it all grassroots. She has a book called 101 Grassroots Ideas. So if you're looking for help, check that book out. I was hoping she might be able to pop in and chat with us for a minute, but I know she's a busy girl. I'd invite her as a surprise guest. But what are some things you could do, right? I can go knock on doors and build relationships. I can certainly just go door knock the neighborhood, right? That is a grassroots thing to do. It doesn't cost you a penny to get off your ass, walk out the door and do it. Now, if you're in the Medicare space, you got to be careful, because door knocking is very restricted in the Medicare space. If I'm door knocking with the intention to sell Medicare related products, my intentions have to be specifically to be selling Medicare supplement products, not Medicare Advantage or drug plans. It is against the rules to door knock with the intention to sell Medicare Advantage or a drug plan, but I can door knock with the intention to develop relationships built around my intention to sell them a Medicare supplement policy, or a hospital indemnity, or a final expense of cancer, or any of those other products. You can go to knock on provider doors in business to business like that to build those relationships, right? Get them your material. Find out, hey, are you a provider that handles Medicare patients, right? I have a patient group that I'm working with, and we're always looking for good providers that I can refer them to, right? And start building those relationships. You can get into community centers, and some of them, libraries, for example, might give you the room for free. And then you just got to figure out how to get people in the room to give them a Medicare seminar and some coaching up on Medicare to generate some leads. Those are a few simple ways that you can do grassroots stuff. Just as Luz points out, Rebecca's book is awesome. So if you are looking for grassroots stuff, get a hold of her book. She's got 101 ways to develop grassroots business, whereas I got about 3 or 4 to kind of give you some ideas. But these efforts are included in the social media side of the game too. Okay, and I'll go ahead, because we got a few more minutes. I'm going to tout a little bit here on what we've done over at Avila, because we understood this from day one. We understood this concept that we had to buy some leads now, because we need money today. We got to start generating sales right now. I'm not trying to generate sales a year from now. I'm trying to generate sales today. So I'm buying leads today. That's where my $12,500 investment came from to start getting marketing going, right? And I didn't spend all 12.5 at once. That actually was spent over a period of about 6 months, and it truly never got really fully spent because we started developing a return to add to it pretty quick. But then we also knew that we wanted to build a brand that eventually was big enough that we didn't have to buy leads anymore, right? Now, we're not buying leads anymore. We're 3 years. Like I said, this is our 4th full year. Yes, this is the start of our 4th full year. So we are not buying leads anymore. Now, it doesn't mean that we just sit around and don't do any marketing and business just walks in the door. No, it's not that easy. We market heavily. We market heavily. I'm actually working on a Facebook campaign that I'm pushing out right now that's going to have a total of about 40 ads that are going out around various states in the nation. About 40 total ads. But it's not a huge expense. Like, I'm maybe going to spend $2,500 a month on that. I mean, that's basically my Facebook marketing budget. But it works, generates a lot of leads. But we understood immediately that, hey, we need to buy some leads, but we want to grow a brand. So, and we believed in social media. So we believed in Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, anything we can do to get attention. Because how often do I say this? Brian Moore, are you in the audience? Attention is what? Attention's currency. How do you get attention? Social media is the great amplifier of attention. Even if you are just going to work as, let's say, a face-to-face type community agent in your own neighborhood, social media is the great amplifier, especially on that level, truthfully, because it's pretty easy, probably, if you're any good at all, and without even spending a lot of money or a lot of effort, and now ChatGPT will do it for you, you could develop a web page that makes you the Hollywood celebrity of Medicare or PNC in Timbuktu town, whatever it is, right? Getting keywords like that aren't that difficult, right? Especially if you're in smaller communities where you can easily start to position yourself as the expert. So social media, Google, digital marketing all gives you that ability. So we understood that the internet and social media is the great amplifier that allows us to get our message out to the masses faster, right? And I firmly believe that you should work smarter, not harder. And so this was one way. So I'm just going to kind of show you real quick. I'm just going to show you our YouTube channel we put together. But let me just share it real fast for you. So from day one, we knew, hey, day one, we understood that, hey, we have to buy leads today to generate money today, but we got to build a brand so that eventually we don't have to spend as much on buying third-party leads. We can just pour money into our own branded marketing and develop even a bigger ROI. So from day one, and I'll even show you, this is our very first shitty-ass little video right here. Not a great video. Right? It's in Spanish, so if you don't know Spanish, you probably can't hear it. But, and that one still sits on the homepage. Like, I should really change it. Like, we really should. I mean, it's one of our very first videos. It's only got 577 views. It needs to be pulled from being the feature. But if you scroll through our channel, like, you're going to see boatloads of videos, just page after page after page after page after page. Some of them are only getting 33 views. Big deal, right? Others are getting 500 views. We've got a couple that got 4,000, 6,000 views on them now. The great thing about developing content like this is it lives out there forever unless you delete it or unless maybe YouTube pulls it down. But if you're not breaking the rules, it's going to live out there forever. So people can continue to find this. Like one of our very first videos that we shot, which isn't a great video, but for whatever reason, it's got like 6,000 or 7,000 views because it keeps getting referred by YouTube and Google to people that are searching for what is Medicare in Spanish. So we knew from day one that, like, hey, we have to get this started immediately. Doesn't cost us any money to do this, but we knew that this would create a brand that helps us turn off the lead hamster wheel, so to speak. So, and that's kind of why I pointed out a couple of those articles that I was showing earlier, like, hey, these are great articles that you could easily use to develop content, right? And I was hoping we'd have time. I was going to show you guys some Facebook ad stuff that I'm doing and working on that's working for me. We will push that off to another training. But my main impression was I wanted to hope that I find some brand new agents that listen to this video and understand that, hey, I'm not trying to kill your pipe dream. But if you ain't got no money and you're trying to start an insurance business, if you're trying to start any business, but if you're trying to start it, it's gonna be really, really, really hard. And I wouldn't recommend you going independent if you don't have at least 5, maybe 10 grand behind you. And then if you do have 5 to 10 grand, look at those 2 levels of marketing. Like, here, I need to do my grassroots stuff or my social media stuff, but I also need to buy leads so that I can generate money immediately. And you keep working both of those programs until it intersects. The last point that I will leave you with, again, if you're a new agent, you're like, what kind of leads and marketing should I be doing or buying to support my business and help me generate money? Make sure that it aligns with your preferred sales method. And what I mean is, like, are you selling telephonically? Are you on the phone closing, prospecting and closing business? Or are you out running appointments, right? And doing events and things like that face-to-face. So, and choose one. And don't be like, oh, I'll do it all. I'll do face-to-face. I'll do telephonic. Doesn't matter. Nah, you got to pick a lane. I promise you, if you want to be a telephonic agent, be a telephonic agent and stick to it and develop your system and your plan. If you want to be a face-to-face agent, be a face-to-face agent, develop your plan and stick to it, right? Because anytime you divert from your plan, you're going to dilute it. You're going to create problems. I guarantee it. It's been proven time and time again. I watch agents that are telephonic agents all of a sudden get a lead that's an hour and a half from them. And they're like, I'm breaking to go run that lead down and do a big appointment. Then they wipe out 5 hours of the day. They don't even make the sale for whatever reason. And they could have spent those 5 hours talking to way more people telephonically, right? And I see people on the other side make the same problem. So pick one and stick to it. And then once you know, hey, I'm a face-to-face agent, or hey, no, I'm a telephonic agent, look towards lead generation systems, where there's third-party leads, et cetera, and marketing systems that are going to support that type of agent. So a face-to-face agent, for example, grassroots efforts are going to be really, really, really helpful for you. Social media that's targeted to your local audience is going to be really, really, really helpful for you, right? If you're a telephonic agent, then digital marketing in a lot of ways is going to be improved for you, because you'll be able to get larger swaths of data in some ways for a phone conversation. There's preset phone appointments, live transfers you can buy, all kinds of stuff. But truth is, telephone sales has taken over so much, just to be honestly frank. Like, even though I still believe in that idea that your marketing method should align with your sales method, it's not as important now. I mean, a telephonic lead will never convert to a good face-to-face lead almost. But even direct mail leads now can still be sold telephonically. Like, when we first started Avila, we were a telephone business, but we were generating our leads direct mail. And I was worried that it wouldn't work, and I was doing some other things, but damn it, it worked, because people have gotten so used to being sold by phone. So, and they've gotten more comfortable with it. So, all right, man. Thank you guys again for tuning in. That is the hour on the dot. Hope you enjoyed it. Look for some of these articles. I'll put them out in the group. And until then, we'll see you guys next time on Tuesday Training. Have an awesome week.